It is fine. That's what you said. We're going to have this conversation in English now because we're both German people. And I'm very happy to have you here today. You're not too far from me, and we just talked about I'm going to visit you guys in January, hopefully. But maybe you give us a short intro who you are, what you do before we dive deeper into your history.
All right, sure. Thanks for having me. A pleasure to be here in your podcast. I'm Stefan Dörr-Laukien. I'm the co-founder and CEO of NODE Robotics. We are a software company focusing on mobile robots in industry, and our goal is to make mobile robots as easy to use as your vacuum cleaner that you might have at home. At least that's the ambition. So solving that mostly with software. Yeah, and I have a technical background. I'm a researcher by heart. I've gone through the whole autonomous driving mobile robotics research departments at Fraunhofer, and that led me to building this startup together with my co-founders, and that's where I am today, and happy to talk about it.
Awesome. The idea of the podcast is always to go into the people's life, showing the people behind the technology, and but the technology will be part of it. So we come back. The loop will be closing later on. I'm always interested in how people got inspired by the things they do today. Some people had a totally different upbringing and found their passion for tech later on. You said that you're a researcher by heart. Was it something that was yeah, around you very early on? Were you somebody who was trying to research? Yeah, tell me a bit before I do make too many assumptions here.
I would say so. I don't think that I have this typical founder story where kind of I was with 5 years old sitting in the garage and then building something. Not really. Uh, I was actually during my childhood and later on, I was like into sports a lot. I was very ambitiously playing football and was trying to go into a professional career there. I think that's where I learned how to train hard, to yeah, be ambitious and exercise hard. But there was nothing yet anything related to founding a company. Um, I would say like the ignition moment came later during my study. So I studied at the Technical University in Munich. Mechanical engineering and automation, and I did an internship at BMW in the autonomous driving team. And so far, kind of being a student of a university, everything was pretty academic, pretty like theoretical. But this was the first time where I was like, wow, this is cool. Like sitting at the computer, like wrapping your head around some algorithms and how to make them work. But then actually going into a car. So like we had this research platform where we would go on actual roads and testing what I just implemented. And I was so cool, even though this was still a research project, so it was early R&D, obviously, but still, you were sitting in this car. There was a test driver, but hands off, and actually your code was now kind of steering that car through the roads. And I was so fascinated by that, by this whole autonomous systems, autonomous driving topic that, like, yeah, that this was kind of the start on the technology side and also on kind of building things and diving deep into things, which then kind of led me to, yeah, also go into other mobile robotics applications. But there was this persistent desire to build things and to see them working in reality. And I mean, some fast forward to actually then founding Node. This is still kind of the main motivation also to become a founder, to become more independent in terms of how fast you can push things forward and so on.
People are so consumed by what they do today. Very often I mean, what I do with the podcast also is trying to unfold a few things that you haven't thought about for a longer period of time. Because especially when you're a founder, you're thinking about the next step, right? The next step. While you're doing something, you're already ahead in, the next 2 or 3 steps. What will come and how can I prepare myself for that? How can I prepare the company for that? But I like to stay a few seconds on the earlier stage because you said there was nothing that that uh, in the early days there was nothing that wanted to make you become an entrepreneur, right? And you said research, but still, or you were giving the example with the garage, and it's true that I think I need to do like looking at the data, but I don't know, 70-80% of the people that are here on the podcast is very traditional. I was building in the garage, I was tinkering with some things, right? So this is very typical in having engineering as parents, right? But I always like to use the analogy of I have a few guests that told me that they had farmers as parents or artists as parents, right? So, um, but then again, as I'm trying to find out how do you become a person that thinks it's a good idea to become an entrepreneur, right? And not staying in that nice environment, even though also challenging, like academia or being an employee, but it is a different level of being an entrepreneur, right? So, was that something that you've been surrounded with by your family, by friends, not university, but earlier in school? Maybe some projects you have been involved with. Is that something that comes to mind now? If you're giving a few seconds to it.
Sure. I mean, in my family, there's definitely like entrepreneurial background. My father founded and ran a company, a small company, not really in the technology sector, but still, of course, you're looking up to him and seeing how he's doing things, and at least that gives you somehow confidence and also introspection into, okay, what might this be like? Can I do that? So yes, this is definitely my father was a role model also on like the mother side of the family. There is a family-run business, but still, I wouldn't say that kind of this inspired me early on that I wanted to do exactly this, that this was kind of something on my list where I would say, if I'm old enough, I want to have my own company. It was rather something like, okay, this is something I could do, but first of all, I really need something that inspires me, that where I want to like the topic came first, I would say. Like it's less kind of being an entrepreneur, but first of all something where you're fully motivated and fully aspiring, looking into topic wise. And this is kind of the thing how it evolved. Also later on, I was researcher at Fraunhofer, where I also did my PhD. Even then, being 25, 26 years old, I was like, that's an option, but there are also others. So it's not this straightforward, let's do this, becoming an entrepreneur. It's rather, that might be an option, but first of all, like I need to find something where I'm really happy spending my time on and where I'm really good at.
Two things. First, I think you need to speak a little more into the direction of your microphone to hear a bit more clear.
Okay.
Yeah, straight. The other thing is I think you said something very interesting and very important, something that has been neglected or is being neglected, especially by people that are not aware of this so much. You said something like this. I know this was an option, right? You lost your color.
How?
Uh,
Okay.
it's black and white. No, you said this. I knew this was an option, right? And I think this is very often the case for many people that they don't know it is an option, right? And also here for people who are listening to this podcast regularly, know that I use this analogy very often. When I was younger, I was fascinated by the fact, and even though I was not blind, right, I was not totally unaware of what's happening around me, but coming out of school, the things that was or that I thought I could pick, right, was not something that was attractive to me on any level, right? And later on, understanding, I was traveling extensively during my 20s, and seeing people went to Costa Rica to study turtles, sea turtles, right? And that this is a profession, this is something you could do. So this is not working in a shop and selling clothes. This is not cutting hair. This is like, you know what? There's an option. Your daily job could be working with turtles on a beach in Costa Rica on the other side of the world. So you saying PhD was on the table or being an entrepreneur was on the table. That was something you've been aware of, but you made the decision of, you know what, I would like to pursue my interests. And these are the things I'm interested in, being in the lab, being in on the forefront of autonomous driving, right? I think this is definitely something I would like to highlight, that the awareness alone is also something that is valid and that is valuable.
Yeah. I think I had a similar experience after school, just like trying to figure out like in which area I want to go to, and just like a lot of interest in different things, but nothing really specific, which would directly lead me into, yes, I want to do this or that. So it was somehow a good thing that um, several things I could think of, but still also a hard decision to say, okay, now I need to, at least for now, choose one. And at that time, yeah, what convinced me, or what I had in mind, was like this, okay, I wanna know how machines work, how things that we're using in our daily life work, that I'm also able to build these kind of things, which can kind of lead me in the direction of going into mechanical engineering, later automation. But it wasn't this kind of straightforward thing. It probably, like, it could also have been gone like in another direction, with just like maybe a slightly other influence or something. So it's not a super straight path, but like step by step, I found out, okay, this is actually what I want to do, and I'm pretty happy in the end that I chose this, because like back then it wasn't super obvious for me. It wasn't like these are my strengths, now this. Um, Interesting, yeah, to look back and see kind of where these decisions actually took you.
And here again, I mean, this reason why I had this podcast is getting business advices and learnings, but also personal advices and learnings out of it. And you said that I made the decision, right? I didn't know if this was the right decision, but I made a decision. And I think if you get stuck and there's too many options, just doing something, as you said, will lead to it might have gone a different way, but at least there's some momentum, something is happening, right? So whenever, and this is something now looking back at it, and you said, and you just said it as well. It can help people who are stuck or have the feeling that it's too much. I don't know what to do. Just do. Just don't.
Yeah,
Just don't do anything. Just don't do nothing. Do anything, because
yeah,
it's more valuable than doing nothing and thinking about doing something, right? And it's nice that you said that you're very happy that it worked out, because in a parallel world, we could think of you would have done another step and would also sit here today and say, you know, I'm really happy that I did this.
yeah. Fully agree. Like, you just need to do something. I think that was also, luckily, maybe, like, the main thought that I had back then. Yeah, I was like considering different options and did a little bit of research, and maybe visited some conferences or wherever I gathered some information about like which direction to take. But then at the end, okay, you need to make a decision. It was clear that I don't want to be stuck in that situation forever. And I think like that's also like fast forwarding to today. It's also my main. or one of the main principles now. Like it's there is also, of course, for the company, there is some uncertainties. There are different tracks that you can opt for. There is never complete information on uh, which track leads you to which state. But the worst thing is that you're stuck in these decisions and don't take a decision. I think that's somehow feels obvious, but also somehow not, and that's something I always bear in mind.
I don't know if I saw a clip from another podcast maybe or a quote, but the saying was that the amount of success is very much correlated to the amount of uncertainty you can accept. So, for example, I moved to this place here about a year and a half ago, and I was living in Berlin, and NODE Robotics reached out to me if I would like to work for them, and I said, yeah, why not? Right? I asked my wife if this would be all right because we have a little one, and then we said, let's just do it. And the amount of uncertainty that comes with it, new place, new work, how will be the surroundings and the place you're going to live and spend time there, and you'll be very far away from your family. But the uncertainty, brought me the opportunity to do many, many more things, right? And I think it seems like, as you said, you even said it, it seems obvious and natural, maybe for you, maybe this is one of the reasons why you're a founder. Maybe this is one of the reasons why you guys are pretty successful, what you do. You have a big capacity for uncertainty that comes towards you. And I think this is definitely something that not too many people have. And it's not bad if you don't have it, right? This summer I was back in Berlin, I saw my friends, all of them, they work at their jobs for like the last 15 years, the same jobs. But this is something that has also some sort of value and comfort, right? So I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying that it seems like other people like you are very much okay with the with the situation, not knowing what's coming towards you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's this typical high risk, high reward calculation that you're doing. If usually there's high risk, but then there also should be high reward if you take that decision. And I think that could go for private things as well as it is typically the case day by day in a startup. Um, like a high risk, low reward is that's definitely something you should like reject. But if the rewards are sufficiently high, then it's worth taking the risk. Yeah, pretty.
Uh, Being in academia, and also you can imagine this is a pattern here on the podcast. People who have PhDs, they spend quite amount of time in academia, right? You do need very deep technical expertise to do the things that you guys are doing. So the name of the podcast is Building Deep Tech. Uh, and But it's another thing working on those technologies and then deciding, you know what, I gonna do business out of it. And it also, again, and now we're filtering again, there's only very few people who think it's a good idea to leave that ecosystem of academia because you've spent the majority of your adult life in it, right? And I'm stepping out of that comfort zone and I'm doing now something on my own. Do you think that something that you were not very focused on or didn't highlight too much, but I got it out of you that your father had been an entrepreneur himself. Was that something that now that you did the step out of academia and becoming an entrepreneur, something felt more similar than people that didn't have the experience in terms of it gives you the confidence? I mean, I'm just trying to understand how did you get the courage to do it?
Yeah, I think again this like family background gave me this base confidence. This is something to consider, but like the main confidence to actually then do it was more coming out of the work that I did at Fraunhofer, that we did as a team, where we saw just the opportunity in kind of building software for this specific use case of mobile robots in industry. We were lucky that we already had industrial partners, so it was already we could already see kind of what impact we had, and I think this combination like really gave us the confidence and also the motivation, saying, okay, now is the right time. Now we need to take this out of this research context into a real business context, really grow it with better opportunities, with other funding opportunities, with other growth opportunities. So I would say it's a combination. First one, there should be a base, and are you actually capable of being a founder? You never know, but of course, like if there are role models in family, that helps. But this alone, without not having an actual like business case and confidence on the technology, wouldn't have led me, at least at that point, to just say I would do it. So it's the combination, and yeah, academia and research, of course, gives you confidence on the technology side. I would say I did my PhD. I wouldn't do it again. So that's something I definitely learned. I mean, it didn't hurt, but like when I would need to choose again, it's also something where I wouldn't take the effort anymore and directly jump on a problem that's not only interesting from a research perspective, but also something where yeah you can directly like have an impact in reality, and then really work on that and not trying to write research papers about it. I mean, that's personal opinion, but that's definitely maybe an interesting insight I had. So it was in the end more kind of seeing us working together with industrial partners on real problems that gave us as a team this confidence than any like academia deep research part, or also the background in becoming an entrepreneur.
I think this is one of the maybe one of the advantages at Fraunhofer, so that you are very close
Yeah.
to use cases, that you're very close to industry partners with certain demand on certain topics. Because very often the problem that I also see in my work with startup founders, young or not young, coming out of academia, is that being excited about a certain technology that not necessarily has a value. I mean, what does that mean? But the value for, or let's see, that can attract paying customers, right? So there's a real need, a pain that needs to be solved, and I was at Heilbronn a couple of weeks ago. So they have the Slush satellite event over there, and I talked to a young founder. He also just finished, or he's in the middle of finishing his PhD, and they said we got something here very interesting and very clever. And then I looked at it. It was a short website, and it was also software. But I said, yeah, but who's going to use it? And he said, yeah, this is very, the way you can do things you couldn't do before. I said, this sounds awesome. I have no idea what you're talking about because I don't have the technical expertise. But have you talked to, I don't know, 10, 20, 50, 100 people in that industry that uses this technology? Because they will tell you if this is cool, because I don't know anything about this. Well, how should I make a validation about if this is something that people would pay money for it, right? And so I think your approach here, we had a technology, but you also had the insights into the industry, that there was a need, there was a technology, and you said the right word, opportunity, right? Being aware of opportunities and then having the guts and the courage to seize them. I think this is definitely something I can see here. How did you guys then decided to make the company? How did you guys? Was there a specific moment you sat together and said, you know what, we're gonna maybe you can share a little bit about this part of the story.
Sure. So yeah, maybe a bit more on this Fraunhofer situation. And first of all, I fully agree. Like Fraunhofer has a good environment here where you can do research, or part of it is research, not fundamental research, rather applied research. And then you have these actual push for working with industrial partners. But that's still kind of I would say that it still doesn't fully solve the problem to being too much technology driven and less market pull driven. So it's also something I get frequently asked, maybe other Fraunhofer teams. So what would you recommend being a Fraunhofer researcher? And it's still, even though you have the industry insights, focus more on the market than on your technology. But how did we decide? So we had this team of a couple of researchers that were working on these mobile robots and particularly the software part. And Fraunhofer has also a quite well infrastructure and programs for actually pushing these spin-offs or startups. So actually becoming a founder. So we went through this internal startup program called AHEAD. So it's in kind of an incubator for Fraunhofer teams, which helped us a lot. Yeah, this is again step by step gave us even more confidence. And again, this is maybe kind of the counter example of what you typically hear, where somebody exits from university and then just build something without any surrounding any funding. For us, it was quite good. We were in this comfortable precision. That it was easily accessible to be part of these programs. We even then applied for this Exist-Forschungstransfer program, so a funding from the federal government, where you could work on your startup by still being funded by the public program through Fraunhofer. So also financially, we could kind of lower the risk a lot. And that helped us a lot, that we again gained confidence that we should do this, and had the perfect grounding and situation, and then just took it step by step. So we went through the incubator, got also more coaching and challenged by the business part, got connected to some people in the network that are still helping us today. And then by also having the funding, we were like, okay, let's go for it. Let's incorporate this company. Let's also look for additional funding. Then that's really coming in from the private sector. But it's really a step-by-step approach that we took, which led us to where we are today.
This is the first time I hear about this incubator, which is weird because I've been doing projects with Fraunhofer for, I don't know, at least 5, 6 years. But I'm not internal, so maybe this might be. But I haven't seen it. Like, I'm on social media like all the time, and I've seen spin-offs from universities. TUM is doing a great job. KIT is doing a great job. Technical University in Berlin is doing a good job, and some other universities in Germany, Erlangen is doing a great job. But I didn't know that the Fraunhofer itself has their own accelerator incubator. I definitely need to reach out to you after this one. The other part was something that you said very early on, and that was market versus technology. I'm always trying to use some quotes from my guests for the title of the podcast episodes. And I think this is a very high contender here because especially tech people tend to be very technology driven because this is what you spend the majority of your time with, right? But when you become an entrepreneur, this cannot be your main driver, right? It is the solid base of it, and it will definitely make or break when it comes to the success, right? If you don't have technology that works, there can be the best marketing and sales in the world, but you will not succeed in the long term. But having understood this, that this is important, like market versus technology, I think this is not so easy for many people coming out of technology. Because they're in their world sometimes, and here I'm just making assumptions, is this technology is so good, everyone would understand it easily that this is like, you need to get it, you need to buy it, right? It's cool that you said this was one of your main drivers there.
Yeah, and I think there's also different levels of understanding this because if you read it on a whatever meme or postcard, it seems obvious, and you're like, yeah, of course, you need to solve a market uh, gap here. Otherwise, what does technology do? But it's still kind of a different level on actually fully executing on this. And I guess we also didn't do really good in that direction at the beginning because we were still like, okay, we have customers, we know kind of what we're solving, but we were still technology driven. We were still like, oh, this is cool, a cool new thing. How can we use it? Rather than actually fully focusing on what kind of customer problem or market problem really has the highest impact if we solve it. And this might not always be kind of something where you need like fancy technology for, but maybe it's just like a simple thing and that's also more easily accessible and you just go for that one. So choosing kind of a simple, maybe not so sophisticated solution over something where there's cool tech behind. It's still a struggle, and I think particularly for Fraunhofer or research heavy teams, this is something to really have an eye on that you don't only have understood this on a first level, but on a really deep level.
One of the guests I had on the podcast just a couple of weeks ago is John John Miller Schwartz. He is the CEO and co-founder of Ultra Robotics. And you see, I mean, this week was crazy, right? I mean, this will be released in a couple of weeks, but this week was crazy because we saw the revelation of Flexion robotics. We saw agile robotics, Sunday robotics. So people that immediately have been in stealth for a while. I mean, not agile, but the other two, and becoming among the top 5, top 10 robotic foundation model provider, and also the form factor of the humanoid. And but with Ultra, he was like I said a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, they're solving a problem. They're solving a concrete problem, and they have deployed robots in factories. So this is warehouse, this is logistics, and this is packaging. So packaging is not sexy, not sexy at all, right? But it works. It works today. It works reliable, and they have customers and they deploy. So as you said, the and the other three companies I mentioned, the tech is crazy, right? It's crazy, mind blowing, but they're not solving anything today, right? So in a few years that will be, but he said the advantage they have is the amount of data and experience and knowledge you gain very early on throughout those years instead of staying on stealth for 2 years and then coming up with something like you have these iteration loops very early on. And how is it for you guys when you started incorporating the company and you said you had customers already? Walk us through how was the first couple of yeah, I mean the first time for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, we basically were able to transfer some customers that we had built up at Fraunhofer into the startup, which gives you, of course, a really nice head start because you have directly paying customers. You directly have some revenue, some proof that the things actually work. On the other hand, it also gives you some constraints. You can't just, as you just mentioned, just like go into stealth and work on things. And you have this dependency. You have stuff running in production. You're still a small team, so it's kind of a stretch. And obviously, this has pros and cons. But I think like also going in this direction of like huge technology versus actual market-driven solutions. Of course, if you have like a technology that could be a really a breakthrough and you're working on that could work out. Maybe you need a few years where you don't have any evidence that it really works, but you're betting on this again, high risk, high reward thing that it actually works, and then you're way ahead because of this like technology breakthrough. I think for us it was, of course, we introduced new technology, but it was rather closer to the market, to what kind of problems we could already solve today. And we rather focused on traction and rolling it out and then improving it. And I guess that's still today we are in this environment with these so-called HEVs, AMR, so automated guided vehicles, autonomous mobile robots, where the basic technology is there for 50, 60 years, maybe even more. Like some vehicles that could run somehow automated through these industrial environments. So it's not that you're introducing a completely new thing. That's somehow cool because end users already know kind of the value of it. But then the opportunity we saw is that with modern software approaches, with more cutting edge sensor technology as well, you can now make these vehicles or robots even more flexible, even more capable, and kind of free them from being a really rigid systems that are installed once and then can never be touched. So it was really a specific problem that we saw, and a benefit that came with our software, and that also kind of forces you to be very practical in kind of what you develop and how you introduce it. So I would say that helped us a lot, focusing on the real things. Still, of course, having an eye on what's going around, what's next in this, where could like new technology also even then improve on that, and that's still the approach we're having. That you have traditional like let's say robotics control algorithms, and then combine it with now more modern AI neural network based approaches. It's not an black and white. It's not an like either do this or that. But we think they will coexist. They will even help each other. Because you have a running system that also maybe the AI system then can learn from, and you can always at least fall back to a traditional system. So in some this kind of rather traditional approach or traditional software when it comes to robotics also helped us getting traction, but also then helping introducing new technology later. This is the overall idea that drives us on the technology side.
Coming to the technology now and what you guys are doing and solving today, um, maybe you can give me an example that makes it easier to grab for me and the audience what you guys are do, because I think everyone, at least today, I think everyone should have heard of autonomous driving, and some people in the industry they heard of AMRs, AGVs. So getting away from cars and into logistics, for example. But maybe you can give us a few analogies or a few examples that makes it easier to understand what you guys are actually doing.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, you already mentioned autonomous driving. Is There's a lot of talk about that, and a lot of things in the press. Also, I think many people have seen how a vacuum cleaning robot works. So these consumer level robots that also have this consumer-like experience. This is something people are aware of. Whereas if you look into how these robots work in industry, so in manufacturing and in warehouse environments, most of them are really kind of old technology that are not as intelligent and easy to use as these consumer products. Like an example, a typical example is that many of these installations, the robot follows a predefined and physical line on the floor. So you can like compare it to an actual a train on rails. And this is kind of the flexibility. Now assume that kind of you have a layout change in your warehouse, like you need to really remove the rails in order to reconfigure your system. So there's a lot of effort, there's a lot of inflexibility, a lot of cost and effort involved. And that also blocks the technology, the robots being rolled out to really a broad range of companies, especially small to medium enterprises typically are not really using the technology. And this is what we trying to solve here, bringing the advances and the approaches from autonomous driving, from like ease of use from consumer products into this market, making it really easy to install such a robot, for instance, an autonomous forklift that transports pallets, or also other types of robots. But still with these industrial requirements, like you need high reliability, you often need high precision for these processes, and this combination, of course, this is why it's hard in the end, and this is why we're working hard on it. But this is the opportunity that we see and push for.
It's interesting. I think you said something that the majority of people are not aware of, is the like as you said, like it's on rails, right? It's not as this can drive on its own. And I've been in contact with a few companies that provide these kind of solutions and other companies that buy these kind of solutions. And what I heard is that some of these products, some of these companies, do provide the kind of technology, but the company buying those systems, they don't want it because there's, as you said, the regulation part is crazy. The reliability is crazy, and the complexity. They fear this kind of complexity. Some of the companies and the regulation that comes with it. So even though the robot could drive on its own, some better, some less good. Some of the companies decided, you know what, please do not enable this technology in my case, because I'm totally fine if it can just follow a line, which is interesting, right? So we're still not there yet, so that the deployment is so easy that everyone will hop on the train. So some people are so defensive when it comes to innovation because there is some workload and some learning involved, that they're rather stuck with the old technology, even though the new technology is available. Do you have a story to that?
Yeah, sure. That's kind of one part of the people. If you're gonna split it in those two parts, that maybe are already burned by projects that didn't go well, where there wasn't this reliability that it needs, and then we were like, okay, just make it easy, make it work. I don't care about like that you don't have these features, but I need to get the job done. And I mean that's for good reason. But then you also have like this rather people that haven't yet maybe made many experience with the technology. They come with kind of too high expectations. They see this robot and they directly compare it to kind of how a human maybe would drive a forklift. So then they say, why can't it do this or that? Because they compare it to human intelligence. And then you also need to explain them, okay, of course, these things are getting smarter and smarter, but still, it's not on a human level. So overall, like expectations are really different, and I have for both sides, it's currently hard to then bring the expectations to a right level and to a good usage of the technology. This is something definitely we see from day to day, but it depends really on the background of the people that you're talking to.
Some people would argue this is a generational conflict, but I've seen people in their 60s, late 60s, have been with companies for 35 plus years, just in that one company, still curious, still tinkering, still trying to figure things out. The first one who got new phones and new technologies and whatever, right? And so it's not necessarily. I think it's when I'm talking to customers and trying to find out who is your ICP and who is your customer, who you're trying to target. But it's also your champion, right? Within that company, it would be nice if they're curiosity driven, because that gives you the advantage of not having this kind of high expectations. Because when you're this kind of person, you know it's not going to work. You know you're not can expect this 99.999%, but you have something that has the 92%, that has the 95%, where you can do things you couldn't do before. So they're so curious to get this, right? So they help you to reach the reliability that you need. Um, Regarding the scope of how big is the team, what's next for you guys? Maybe you can give us some insights here.
Yeah, so we're 25 people, and yeah, of course, mostly software developers, pretty lean structure and hierarchies still. And what so we have this software stack, autonomy stack, that's currently our main product, which we sell and license to mobile robot OEMs and integrators that are looking for software that they can use on their robots in their projects to to realize, to commission robots faster and in an easier manner. And this is already running quite well, but we're also, of course, looking into new directions. And something we're currently launching is our first hardware device, or let's say the first piece of product that doesn't only come with software, but also with hardware. It's a RTLS, real-time location system. So basically, it's a compute box and a sensor that you can put on manual-driven vehicles. Forklifts, tugger trains, so just typical industrial trucks. And then which tracks these vehicles, which is a growing problem. If you introduce robots, then you typically are in a state that it's not 100% robots, it's not 100% manually driven, it's a mixed fleet. So in order to coordinate and orchestrate this, and in order to not producing deadlocks, it's essential to have the locations also of the manual trucks. So this is something we're currently working on. It's the first hardware piece, as mentioned, that kind of also new for us. Of course, we're working with hardware partners here. We don't build it in-house, but this is something we're currently putting some efforts in. And there's also more to come. It's a pretty interesting market at the moment because, also the hardware parts, those sensors, robot platforms are changing, and there are new suppliers and new opportunities, of course, new threats. So we're also trying to leverage these new situations. I can't really tell much about that yet, but it's keeping us busy. Let's say it like this.
When hardware is when hardware is involved, there's always the question of, do I raise money? Sorry, do I raise money for the higher capex? And is that something that you guys consider?
Sure, that's also new to us, that now kind of we have a supply chain, even if it's just like a still simple product, and you have to spend money before you actually get some revenue. Of course, we're like a venture capital backed company. We're currently not raising, but doing kind of well financed for now, and then to push on these streams. But we'll prepare the next round where also this, let's say, hardware business plays a certain aspect into how much money you need to raise. Yes.
As I'm talking to a lot of people here on the podcast, I mean, more often now than ever, the question of, do I do, if I would like to do software right, I do need to do hardware, because then only then I'm able to fully have the control for the entire product, product development, the way things are being integrated. Was that and I ask this question very regularly on the podcast, was that a logical consequence for you? Was that just, okay, it seems like we have the capabilities, we have the expertise and knowledge, and we would like to bring to the next step. So for us, it seems like we need to do it on our own. We do need to do it ourselves.
I mean, yes and no. So first of all, we're coming from the complete opposite position, saying, "Hey, we have the software. We don't build the hardware. Our software is so hardware agnostic that you can just use it on every robotics platform." And we're doing business with this approach already. And of course, you have these players in the market who are kind of fully vertically built in-house, and there are some advantages to it, but also some disadvantages because, yeah, you really need a lot of people to develop all the parts, and some of them are just standard parts. So you can't really make a difference. You can't really build a USP with those. And what we're seeing in this mobile robotics market, especially for industrial use cases, that the hardware gets more and more commoditized. Um, so this leverage of building everything in-house gets smaller and smaller, but the burden of kind of the efforts and costs you need to have the go-to market that's way longer, is rather eating up the benefits. And so our step towards hardware is not building hardware in-house. It's rather to, let's say more tightly coupling it than we did it in the beginning of our journey, to maybe have only a selection of customers and partners that we work with, and not just like every piece of hardware that we want to support. I guess that's kind of the shift that we did, but still pretty lean on what we do in-house, which is still only software, but then like closer integration with the hardware that we support.
Again, it's focus, right? I mean, what do we focus on? And as you said, there's not, I mean, you have the other product that is, I don't know, this is now the way I describe it. So this is for the masses. This is what you can deploy easily, software on larger market. But then there seems to be a smaller niche market within your market that has this kind of need that needs to be solved, and you guys being in a position where you can solve just those, right? And here not needing that volume that you need maybe on the other side. Interesting. Last few questions before we coming towards an end. How is it for you? Because at the moment there's a huge like Europe bashing and startups in Europe, especially in Germany, especially automotive. How is the situation for you guys? How do you see this?
It's definitely challenging. We see also customers and other players in the market in financial troubles. Of course, the whole automotive crisis, if I may say, puts a lot of pressure on this sector, because automotive is still kind of the largest customer of HEVs and AMRs. So that's challenging. On the other hand, you see also other verticals rising, like the whole warehousing e-commerce sector that helps here a lot. And also you see hardware becoming cheaper, hardware becoming better. Also supply chains from Asian markets becoming particularly interesting to combine it with software. So I would say it's a wild
Time.
situation at the moment with again, some opportunities, but definitely not the easiest situation to maneuver through.
Some challenges coming with this. I'm very happy that you said yes to our little chat here. I had a few learnings here, and some are not new learnings, but reminding on things you already know. So it's good that you're reinforcing some of the things for potential founders in the future. And I'm really looking forward to see you guys because where you are situated, I've been there 2 years ago, and it's an interesting place. And I hope I will be able to show my followers some more physical things in the next year. So thank you very much for taking the time, Stefan.
Great to have you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Ilya. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, then take care and see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.